All right, third grade. So we are continuing this week's lessons and our discussion about weather and climate. In our last video, we thought about what the weather is like in winter, spring, summer, and fall in Nebraska. And we talked about how that is our climate because that is what is common, what happens most often, all of those seasons each year. So the question I had you answer was, how do we know what the climate is in Nebraska? I talked you through that a little bit when we talked about the pictures, but more so, how do the scientists figure out what the climate is for an area? So we did graphs with our sunrise and sunset, and now we're going to look at some graphs that the scientists can use that will show them what the weather patterns are in different areas, and from that they can decide or figure out what the climate is like. So on this page we have two different graphs. There's the one here for Omaha and then one for San Diego, California. These two graphs show the temperatures over a long amount of time, a year in fact. So in the blue line, it shows what our high temperatures are from January through December. So it shows our high temperature in January is usually around 32 degrees. Our high temperature for April is usually 64. Our high temperature in July is around 88 degrees. And our high temperature then in October is about 65 degrees. So our temperatures can range from 32 degrees to 88 degrees between the coldest time of year and the warmest time of year. In the same way, our low temperatures can be from 13 degrees in January, 40 degrees in April, 67 in July, and then 42 degrees in October. So once again, they range from 13 degrees as our coldest low temperature, so that would be like when we wake up in the morning, to 67 degrees for the temperature in the beginning of the day, right in the morning. So we have a pretty big gap between what those temperatures look like depending on the season. Now, if we look at San Diego, we look at their high temperature in January is around 66 degrees. Then if you notice, in April, it's 69 degrees. In July, 76. And then in October, 74. So what I noticed is that it's 66 degrees as the lowest high temperature, and 77 degrees is their highest temperature. So that's only 11 degrees difference from January, which is our coldest time of year, through August, which is normally our hottest time of the year. So when it's 32 degrees in Omaha for our usual temperature in January, it's 66 degrees in San Diego. In July, when we are up at 88 degrees, we're really warm, they're only at 76 degrees. So they're warmer than us in the winter, but then they're a little bit cooler than us in the summer. Also, if I look at their low temperatures, the temperatures that you would see in the morning, their lowest temperature, it looks like, is 49 degrees in December. Now remember, our lowest degree for their temperature for December is 18 degrees, so that's a big difference. Their temperature in the summer, when they get up in the morning, is 67, which is similar to what our temperature is in the morning in the summer. But they don't have all the cold temperatures that we have. So their climate is going to be warmer. They're not going to have snow in San Diego like we do in Omaha. And they're also not going to have as high or as hot of days like we have in the summer in Omaha or in Nebraska. So by keeping track of the temperatures, that is one way that they can see what the climate is like in an area. Another thing they measure is precipitation. Now remember, precipitation can be rain, it can be snow, sleet. So there are different types of precipitation. And you'll notice that I have two graphs here for Omaha, and there's only one graph for San Diego. For Omaha, one of our graphs shows rainfall and how much rain we usually get for each month. So you can see all the different numbers here. Now, our highest amount of rainfall is usually in May. That's in spring, and we know we usually get more rain and more thunderstorms in May, so that makes sense. When we come over here to this graph, this shows the snowfall, how many inches of snow we usually get. Now we know in the summer we don't get snow, so obviously it's going to be 0. But if you look at January and February, and also at December, you can see that we are going to have between 5 or 7 inches each of those months during the winter in Omaha. Our climate, we know that we're going to have snow in Omaha. However, now if we go down to San Diego and we look at their rainfall, they will have more rain in the winter months. So in January, they might have 2 inches of rain, where we're getting 6.7 inches of snow. But then if you look at the summer months, they don't get very much rain at all. So that means that it is much drier in San Diego, where in July they're getting less than an inch of rain. We could get 3.5 inches of rain. Then you'll see this down here on their graph that says no snowfall recorded, because we know that the climate in San Diego is too warm for there to be snowfall in San Diego. So these are a couple ways of knowing what a climate is like in an area. They will look at the temperatures and they'll look at the precipitation and what is common, what happens most often in an area over a long amount of time, and that's how they'll determine what the climate is. So in your science notebooks, I want you to answer 2 questions for me. First question I want you to answer is, how is the climate the same in Omaha and San Diego? And then your second question, how is the climate different in Omaha and San Diego? So if you need to go back and look at this video and look at those graphs again to help you think about those 2 questions, I encourage you to do that. So once again, how is the climate the same in both Omaha and San Diego? And how is the climate different in Omaha and San Diego? So that is what we will do for this lesson. And as always, if you want to share your work, my email address is diana.capel@ops.org. We have one more lesson for this week, so I will see you then.